Very good afternoon, everyone. I'm Satvinder from Malaysia. So today I'll be presenting one of the research that we've done on the young adults in Malaysia and looking at the food intake that's taken among this group of young adults. Now, obesity food intake, it's a multifactorial phenomena. There's a lot, including our lifestyle habits. And there's a lot of changes in terms of dietary patterns in Asian countries, even in Malaysia, whereby we are seeing a lot of people are doing away from traditional diets to more processed food. We see that Malaysian young adults have the highest rates of obesity as compared to Laos, Singapore, Thailand, and even India. Now, when we look at young adults, so we're talking about 18 to 25 years old, these are the age group where most of the adults starts to gain independence in their life and they move away from family diets into their own choices of their dietary intakes. And the transition between adolescence and adulthood is a vulnerable period for excess weight gain. And this is a time as well dietary quality actually declines in an individual's life. Now, young adults' dietary habits are most of the time is influenced by the cost and the availability of their food, especially for students who are in universities. So poor diet quality is a significant contributor to obesity in young adults, and a lot of them that do not consume enough fruits and vegetables leads to the onset of metabolic syndrome in this age group. So this study that we conducted aimed to look at the differences of food group and intakes between two groups of people, which are the normal weight young adults and the overweight and obese young adults. And we further went on to identify what are the dietary factors that is associated with obesity in these age groups. So this was a cross-sectional study design and it adapted the case control method. So what you can see here is actually the map of Malaysia, and the study was conducted in a region called named Klang Valley. So Klang Valley is basically the most urban part of Malaysia. And we did a stratified random sampling method whereby 8 universities were selected in this study, and samples were recruited based on voluntary method. And we gained ethics from every university before we approached the subject. So the included criteria was students who were Malaysians aged between 19 to 25 and who gave the informed consent, and we actually adapted the Asian cutoff for BMI. Now see, this was the process of the data collection, whereby we briefed the subjects first on the study objectives and instructions. We collected their socio-demographic data. We conducted the 3 days, 24-hour dietary recall, where it included 1 weekend and 2 weekdays using household measures and a food atlas. And we conducted the anthropometry assessment, height, weight, and waist circumference. This was how our data was analyzed. And I move on to the results and discussion. So this was our mean age. We had about 20 years old, the mean age for both groups. And we had we can see a significant difference whereby we saw more males that were actually obese and overweight than the female. And these are the comparison between their anthropometric assessments, and we can see the visceral fat is rather higher in the overweight and obese group, clearly. And we also saw that, of course, when we look at the energy intake, we looked into underreporting and overreporting as well, and we could see that overweight and obese tend to actually underreport their intake way more than the normal weight subjects. And when we look at the dietary intake, this we have excluded all underreporters, so we only included normal reporters, we even excluded the overreporters, and we can see that higher energy, carbohydrate, protein, and fat in the overweight and obese group. So we further analyzed the diet data into food groups, whereby we look at servings per day, and we compared this with, this is the Malaysian food pyramid recommendation. 10 is actually the maximum, it's between 8 to 10. So we have put maximum values here, and we can see that in the normal weight and the overweight group, so generally they look like they do not meet the dietary recommendations, whereby it's lower. And this was also similarly with our national study that we did in 2015, whereby most young adults in Malaysia did not meet the dietary recommendations. And can see that fruits and vegetables is really very low in both groups, as well as dairy. And we further analyzed the data by comparing with other studies done in Japan, Singapore, Canada, and Iran. So you can see that this, the first two graphs here, the bars here, these are our study, which are the normal weight and the overweight. And we can see that in terms of cereals and grains, we are comparable with countries like Singapore and higher than countries like Japan and Iran. And this is the dairy group. So Malaysian young adults clearly do not like to drink much milk or consume dairy products. But meat, poultry, and fish, we are doing quite well. And in terms of vegetables and fruits intake, you can see that it's also much lower compared to other countries that we've compared with. So you can see that Malaysian young adults do not really like to eat much fruits and vegetables in their daily diet. Now, why is that so? So you are seeing pictures of outlets, food outlets that are generally in Malaysian universities. So there are a lot of them that are fast food based and convenience stores that caters for our students, generally young adults. And when we look at their sugar intake and the ultra-processed food, so we look into the intake for kilocalorie per day, we can see that there's a significant difference between the normal weight and the overweight and obese group. So we can see that a lot of our overweight and obese adults are actually taking a lot of ultra-processed food daily in their diet intake. And the sales of the ultra-processed foods have also increased in parallel with rates of obesity worldwide, particularly in middle-income countries. So healthy meal intentions among young adults are much influenced by availability of fruits and vegetables that are given around them. So that's an important factor for us to look into. And increased availability of healthy options combined with nutrition information is important to improve their dietary habits. So why young adults are unable to eat healthy most of the time is the lack of time due to their studies, the lack of healthy meals at their university canteens, and these foods are generally higher in prices. And we further did an analysis of to look at the odds ratio of the factors that is associated with obesity. Again, we see the ultra-processed food have the highest factor in developing obesity in this age group, and fruits intake is inverse association. So the lower the fruits intake, the higher the odds of getting obesity or overweight. So why is ultra-processed food significantly associated with obesity? It's generally the availability in the campus and the portion sizes of these foods that are much higher. So this leading to many young adults to overconsume their intake. So why it's again a perfect choice? It's convenient, it's portable, and it's time saving. It's consumable anywhere. They can have it in the class while they're having lectures. They can have it while they are walking. So generally it's a food that they would go more for this group of individuals, and they are normally sold in the form of snacks, drinks, and ready-to-consume dishes, whereby they can easily displace handmade meals. So as a conclusion and a recommendation, poor dietary quality is associated especially with the young adults group, and that's because they have high intake of ultra-processed food, sugar, meat, and lower fruits intake. Dietary quality, although is you can see that in young adults, especially in Malaysia, they lack in fruits and vegetables intake. That makes their quality much lower. And it's important to impart nutrition education, improving self-regulation towards their diet intake, and point of purchase in terms of when they are doing purchasing of this food, they would know the key nutrition message. I think that would actually help our college students to eat much better. So that's all from me. These are my references, and thank you.
What was the method followed?
Come again?
You mentioned that you excluded from your analysis the people who under or over-reported their energy intakes. So what was the method followed?
Oh, okay, so we used the Goldberg cutoff point to look at the under-reporters and the over-reporters. So once we identified that they do not meet the cutoff value, they are considered under-reporters, looking at their BMR values.
So I had two questions. Thank you very much. Or maybe if you have plans to study their preferences for fruits and vegetables, so do they have preferences? One, and then the second question is, everybody says that fruits and vegetables aren't affordable, but I mean, do we really compare what's the price of one piece of fruit compared to one snack food, soda, to kind of really have a valid comparison? Because if you have to buy a kilo of vegetable, of course, that's not a good comparison. But we have one piece of fruit as a snack as compared to whatever else they're getting?
Yeah, okay, so answering your first question, yes, we are continuing the study to look at more to the qualitative aspect of it. Why are the students why do they not prefer fruits and vegetables, more to their opinions, and what is what would drive them to eat these fruits and vegetables in their daily intake. Coming to the second questions, costing, when we look at generally in Malaysia, we don't, there's a lot of outlets that sell cut fruits that are compared to whole fruits. So many adults, or I would say the culture in back home, we advocate more on that. So when there's a cut fruit, the cost is higher because the fruits are not only sold in its whole form, right? It's added with perhaps sometimes they have some condiments that they add together with it. So we do have fruits being sold around these adults that we studied. However, they are not in whole forms. So when we come to the cost, if it goes to the market, it may seem cheap, but the students or the young adults do not really visit these places to do their food purchase. So that leads to why they don't consume it, because when they would want to consume it, the cost has already increased for them.